So here's number 14 is the classroom activity. On page 112. And then bring in the clips. This will be this is 14. Here's number 15. Clip of progressivism. It's got to be here somewhere. Clip 5.5, 5-5 on progressive, and it goes here. So 14 and 15 here. All right, where are we at here? Humanism, yay! Humanism is an educational philosophy that is concerned with enhancing the innate goodness of the individual. So now, first we're going to change society, and now we're going to just simply work on goodness in our students. He rejects group-oriented educational system and seeks ways to enhance the individual. Okay, is this different than progressivism? Progressivism was the collective of the whole, solving social justice, solving problems, changing the world by changing students, by getting control of the students. The humanist is rooted both in writings of Jean-Jacques Rousseau, an existentialist, and he was the father of Romanticism, believed that entering the world not as a blank slate, but with certain innate qualities. Remember Rousseau, the Tabula Rasa? Well, this is not a blank slate, not. They already have it. Emile had this famous treatise of education. States that God makes all things good. Think of that as what this is about, humanism. And man meddles with them and they become evil. Rousseau, and this means somebody translated it in 79, believed that the basic goodness of all humans at birth. He also believed that humans are born free but become enslaved by institutions. And what institution is that? Enslaved by institutions? You're enslaved by the school. And been lots of kids felt that way over the years, that they were enslaved by school. Ideas Rousseau, with the basics of this, believe that most schools de-emphasize the individual and relationships between the teacher and the student. And again, what he was saying, it's kind of the antithesis again, a little bit of progressivism. Humanists claim that educators attempt to predict the behavior of students. And this is what I felt progressives did. They want to shape the future behavior of the student. Here they want it to develop naturally. Developing free, self-actualizing person, a process that is centered on the student's feelings. Okay, and again, if you're not a feelings person, this one's going to be a little hard for you, but that's what this is going to, humanist is about, is feelings. Not part with great ideas of the world, humankind, but with the individual self. So what is the learning focus and the curriculum? Here, let's flip over here and look at what this humanist is. Should enhance innate goodness. Their whole objective is the students, individually, not the collective. Progressives are always about the collective. The humanism is always about the individual. Should develop free, self-actualizing person. Should start with the individual self. And what does it look like? Well, it's found in the environment, not subject matter. So that's kind of the naturalist approach. Positive student-teacher relationships critical for learning. Instruction, open access curriculum, non-graded instruction, multi-age grouping. You get all this? This a little bit different than how you do things. Believe me, there's some schools in this mode. Open access curriculum, meaning enter and exit any place you want. Non-graded instruction, meaning you're not in a grade. And multi-age, so it could be a group of different ages studying the same thing. Free schools, storefront schools, schools without walls, programs usually are more costly to run. Okay, let's go back and learn a little more about that. Autonomous person education should be without coercion or perception or prescription. Teacher who follows humanistic theory emphasizes instruction and assessment based on student interests, not on curriculum. base their whole classroom on their abilities, interests, and needs. Determine the rules that will govern it. The students have complete control of the rules. Govern classroom life. They make choices about the books they read. Exercise is complete. Honor divergent thinking. Remember, we know what divergent is? That they delay giving of their own personal opinions and do not attempt to persuade students' particular points of view. So again, a complete opposite really of progressivism. Theirs is not to persuade. Progressivism was all about persuading the collective, the group. Even though they emphasize the effective and thereby make students feel a certain urgency about issues, it is always left to the individual student to decide what to take a stand, what kind of stand to take, whether cause merits action. Okay. Curriculum of any school is found not so much in the subject matter rather than environment. It's a nice place. Everybody's so nice. That's the environment of the humanist. Describe the heart of a humanist as I and thou. It portrays two different ways the individuals. If I-it relationship and I-thou relationships are characterized like this. Many students today believe that educators treat them as social security numbers, just numbers, and have somewhat of an agreement with that, and especially my kids in middle school. So 100 or more, it's difficult for teachers to remember students' names. Me, have a hard time remembering, let alone to get to know them as individuals. Often teachers assign material, mark papers, give grades, without ever conversing with students. So how do you suppose that works in online classes? Semester ends, students leave classes, replaced by others, equally anonymous students. The schools had to be this way. He contended that the proper relationship between teacher and student is mutually sensibly of feeling. There is empathy, not a subject, objective relationship. It is one in which people share their thoughts, feelings, beliefs, fears, and aspirations with one another. Environmental caring. This is really a touchy-feely one. So here's the humanist class activity again. I'm going to ask you to make this number 16. Class activity. You will read this and describe a little bit of what it's about and react to it, what your thoughts on this are. Examples include, I'm just going to let you read this part here, kind of a summation of it. Oh, what the heck, I'm going to read it to you. Inspired by humanism, many educators attempt to personalize education in less radical ways. Examples include individualizing instruction, open access curriculum, non-graded instruction, and multi-age grouping. And again, I'm going to guess you're not familiar with those terms. You have not seen this, but it was tried. There were schools in the 70s that built buildings like that, a school without walls, that they built great big one-room schools, and teachers clustered in groups so that they could share and work with each other and share students. And what happened, in a matter of about 5 years, they built walls and classrooms in those exact same brand new schools because the teachers couldn't stand it. And so they quickly went away from it, but that was what it was based on. Each of these approaches tends to uniqueness of the learner. Block scheduling permits flexibility for students to arrange classes of their choice. Free schools, storefront schools, vocational centers provide humanistic alternatives. Block scheduling is an outcome of this. Educational programs that address the needs of individuals are usually more costly. Consequently, as taxpayers' demands for accountability mount, humanist individualized programs are often brought under unit cost scrutiny. Nonetheless, growing numbers of educators are willing to defend increased expenditures to meet this. And why? What's why? It costs more. For one thing, you can't have one teacher with as many students. It has to be much smaller classes if we're going to love each other. Kumbaya, high fives, hugs, stuff like that. You can't hug 30 kids a day. You can hug about 15. And so it costs more. Now you had a chance to consider the ideas of this. Go to 5.6, and I'll show you 5.6. will be on the clip page. And you'll have this to bring into your notes. And this will be number 17. And that's the clip. I think it's 5-6. Let's see what it is. 5-6, yes. All right, constructivism. Let's have a look at constructivism. So their meaning is through hands-on, activity-based teaching and learning. So with extensionalism, closely, and we studied extensionalism last chapter, has encouraged teachers to reconsider the manner in which they view teaching, contends that students are active learners that should be given opportunities to construct their meaning, their own frames of thought. Teaching techniques should include a variety of different things. Need to spend time creating learning situations rather than lecturing. Okay, learning situations rather than lecturing. True learning to be active framing of personal meaning. Okay, a little encapsulates the last two, rather than the framing of someone else's meaning, the teacher's. Okay. Such a view of teaching and learning has profound ramifications in school. If students are to be encouraged to answer their own questions, develop their own thinking, needs to be reconceptualized. There's a big word, a 25-cent word. Reconceptualize. Constructivist theorists encourage the development of critical thinking and understanding of big ideas. And again, this another constructivist thing is big ideas. I was here for the constructivist movement. A factional they contend that students who have a sound understanding of important principles that were developed through their own critical thinking will be better for a complex technological world. So they are this. They are a problems-based learning also. Okay. I'm going to keep moving here. Let me come back and about this. Develop personal meaning through hands-on activity. Opportunity to construct meaning through critical thinking and big ideas. And again, that applies if you think like we want you to infer and discover their own answers. Teaching involves a variety of learning activities. You construct the learning environment, not the meaning. Okay. So it's problem-based. Teachers invite students to experience proposed situations and encourage to ask questions and seek their own answers. And we had a little bit of that before also. Okay, so let's take a look here. And here is the constructivist class activity. Again, we're going to make this I can't remember. I can never remember. This is number 18. Number 18 is class activity that you're going to give a synopsis and then your reflection on it. And of course, number 19 will be the clip. 5-7 will be brought in here from the clips page. Now the last part of developing your own philosophy of education, and it takes you through a number of steps here. And let me flip over here and show you like learning focus and goals, classroom organization, teaching style lessons, student assessments, motivation, management discipline, and classroom climate. And as it flips through there, here the first one gives you a sample of what of educational philosophy looks like, and you can certainly read through this, but in the name of time I'm going to speed this up and ask you to play a bigger role. First of all, learning focus and goals, what knowledge and skills are most worth knowing, and I want you to bring that right here on here and start addressing each of these. So this will be number 20. And that is, you will do all of these and bring in at least one sentence and one statement about each of these. Classroom management, each of those, classroom climate, personal teaching and learning vision, one statement about each of these from the textbook. Instead of me rattling through, I'm just going to give you a look at it. Here's classroom organization. And please read these and bring your statement in here about each of these. Physical setting, again, very interesting read on philosophy here, and this is the example here in the middle from the sample thing. They just keep referring to samples. Then here's teaching style and lesson planning. and student assessments and evaluations, how you're going to do that. And then motivation. Does a big thing on motivation, different ways of motivating and what that's about, of having a philosophy of motivation, whether you're learner-centered or teacher-centered. And that's how we're going to do this, is come back to this. Here's a whole thing on types of motivational responses. And the last part, developing your own philosophy. And it takes you through this whole process. And in the name of time, I'm going to ask you to do most of this by yourself. I'm going to quickly flip through this and just pick out a few key ideas, but encourage you to outline this yourself, each area. I have these over here for you. Here's these areas, 8 areas that they're going to talk about, and I've listed them here. And number 20 is, I'm going to ask you to bring one line in about each of these topics through here. Okay, here's the lesson from classroom discipline, the different types, types of discipline, these models, these philosophies, I should say, and then classroom climate, voice in this. So each of those is one entry here, number 20, the collective, as you go through this. For example, this first part, on just organizing, what does educational philosophy look like? It gives you a sample here, and then it keeps referring back to it the rest of the way through. So that may be of help to you. Okay, the learning focus and goals. What knowledge and skills are most worth? And this will be part of your philosophy when we write that. Learning focus, what knowledge? That's what I want you to put in there for that one. And then you'll come down here and you'll read this first and then come down here, classroom organizations, and it does a whole long spew about philosophy behind organizing your classroom. And it takes you through things like the physical setting, and it differentiates between student-centered and teacher-centered philosophies and how you set up your classroom. So you'll read this and you'll make a statement about that here in the settings. And then the same way with lesson planning, teaching style and lesson planning. And again, it'll help you distinguish what it looks like differently on this as you read through this. And it has the sample from the sample one. And then this one is on student assessment and evaluations. And again, it helps you do a little comparison between the student-centered and teacher-centered philosophies that were discussed in this chapter. Wide variety of assessments. And so you read that whole thing and you make a statement. And then motivation, the same way. It does a whole long narrative on different strategies and motivation based on your philosophy. One of the philosophies that are studied here, and you got to believe that you're going to be putting together your own philosophy. Now this is the motivational responses that are talked about here. I'm going to clip that and ask you to bring that in also, and that'll be number 21, clip, and that is number 5.9. All right, and so you have that, but you have to read to understand that. It gives you the sample again, and then it goes into classroom management and discipline, and it does a pretty nice job of laying all the different aspects of that. And there's some questions on the test over these. So again, I'm going to clip 5-10 and bring that in here. And this will be number 22, 5-10 from the clip. Okay. And this one, 5-11, will be 23. 5-11 clip. And again, you're still bringing at least one statement about each of these in as you go through this text. Then the types of discipline, it does a nice job going through that, like choice theory, and you'll want a statement of what that is. What are you doing? What are you supposed to be doing? What is the rule? And you'll see rooted in here some of the theories or some of the behavior models that were used when you were in school. Teacher didn't always know what they're based on, but a lot of it comes here. This is Glasser's assertive discipline. This is relatively new. Okay. Or Cantor's and Cantor's way of doing it. Conflict resolution, another approach, and you'll make some statement. And here's some discipline guidelines. You can bring those in if you like that. Things. Then classroom climate. And this does a whole thing again based on philosophy. What is the classroom climate you're building? It includes voice and space. And your personal teaching and learning vision also. And what is your philosophy? The expectation of society's leaders, economic conditions, and ideologies, powerful lobby groups, and philosophies of teachers. Okay, so again, this is where I have a problem here. I disagree with this, and if that's a problem for you, you probably need to go tell the dean on me. But I don't agree that this is society. School's role is to change society. I think that's people's role, not schools, because the schools, who are the schools controlled by, and this is where it comes from, is these powerful lobby groups, and so that'll come into play. And teachers as change agents. So again, it's built on that you're changing the existing system, and I'm not sure that's the model that we're following. Society's concerns a proper role of a school and a teacher. Should teachers be changes, actually working to change existing things? Should they reemphasize eternal truths and stuff? This will come to philosophy, and sometimes it'll be in your hands, and sometimes it won't be. But change is adaptation, change is rational process. Please make a statement about each of those in the notes. Change is a dialect. Okay. And this, who is right? And here's your discussion for this time. And please do not respond to this until you've read both sides, the yes and the no. Both make some great points. And so please do not respond until you've read both of those. And that I put here is right here is number, I forget what number we're on, 24 is discuss. Okay. And it goes on to modeling, vision. And again, you're making a statement about each of those here. Empowerment. So this will be number 25. You're going to make a one statement about each of these after you've read what the textbook says about it, about philosophy, and using those. And again, a number of those things are on the test. So you have to have an understanding of each of these. Okay, chapter 5.